Live from New York, this is WIUR Radio.
What's up, girls? It's Nia, and we're back with episode 3 with our theories. It's been a while because of obviously, with the bad snow and stuff. But I got a pretty more knowable theory that everybody knows about, especially in the Stranger Things world and Area 51 world. Today we're gonna do a deeper dive than we ever gone than our last two episodes, not just into Stranger Things lore, but into the Area 51 rumors that go with it, but into the classified overlap between the two. The timeline that suggests Stranger Things isn't really a fiction, it's just a dramatized retelling of real events in the US government conducted in the 1950s to the 1990s, right? The theory argues that the project in Long Island, especially in Montauk, was the prototype. Area 51 was just an upgrade from the Montauk project, as we all heard before. And Stranger Things is just a cover-up story to just fictionalize things, but with a little bit of more truth. All right. So part one, the real world timeline they don't want you to connect. The Montauk project, right? 1952, this is when it begins. The classified MK Ultra documents confirm that the CIA was experimenting with sensory depriving, mind altering substances, psychic testing, and remote viewing. Really, to just break it down, obviously, sensory deprived, which is like more taking away like your five senses and making them more heightened than the normal average person in the world. Mind altering substances, I'm pretty sure, like psychedelic things to make your mind see things that are not true and just open up areas of the mind that never been open. The psychic testing, I'm not really sure what that is, but I'm pretty to just see if these two, the sensory and the mind altering, can connect to do psychic things like what Eleven was doing in Stranger Things, like moving things with her mind, crushing things, just all that sorts of stuff. And then we'll get into the remote viewing, right? The whistleblowers claim the Montauk Air Force Station was the real hub. So, as we all know, the Upside Down was technically the hub. And in the fifth series, we talk about damn it, I forgot what it's called, but it's the, dang, I forgot. But if you watch season 5, you know what I'm talking about. When Dustin explains what the Upside Down it really is just like a wormhole. That's what I'm looking for, right? It was the real hub, the Montauk Air Force Stations, not the labs we hear about in the documentation, right? In 1968 to 1976, the Montauk share. According to Preston Nicholas and Al Bielek, two controversial but consistent whistleblowers, Asaki sat in a specialized electromagnetic chair. Their thoughts were amplified into physical projections. These projections could allegedly affect matter. So, back to what I was saying, how Eleven was moving things with her mind. This basically, they believe that electromagnetic chair, if you zap the person at the correct amount of bolts at the correct amount of time, they can allegedly affect the matter that we can't do as humans by touch, obviously. This is the exact blueprints, obviously, for Eleven's powers. Now, 1979, the beast from the ID event, right? Nicholas claims a subject accidentally manifested a creature, a tall, humanoid, faceless, aggressive. What does that sound like to y'all? A tall, humanoid, faceless aggression. The Demigorgon, the tall, alien like, hairless, nasty thing that we all know from Stranger Things, especially shown in season 1 when, um, yeah, sorry, I'm like lost. Okay, so It's rampaged through the facility until the power was cut. So apparently this thing was real and it was going through the facility, cut all the power, and the obviously the description is similar to like Demogorgons. Now let's go into the 1983, the Montauk Rift. The Montauk Rift, the most important date. So the rift, obviously, when the Demogorgons create that hole and they go into the upside down, right? Nicholas claims, the whistleblower, a time space tier opened, something came through, and the project was shut down overnight. All personnel were resigned and silenced, which is odd. Why were they silenced? Why were they reassigned? Obviously, they can't bring this to the public um, correctly, especially during that time, because the government is in charge of anything that scientists do, as we all know. Everything is sugar coated nowadays. We don't know the real of what's going on behind scenes, right? The Stranger Things season one is set in 1983, and the Montauk Rift happened in 1983. The gate opens in 1983, and a creature appears in 1983, which all happened around the same time of the Montauk Rift, exactly same time. This is not a coincidence. It's a traumatization. But here's the part that most people miss. Montauk didn't end. It moved. So when people were reassigned or silenced, it wasn't because, oh, Montauk is gone and they seen this creature, they needed to be closed, this needed to be classified, they gave it up to the government. No, they moved to a bigger and better space so they can do deeper dive research into what is that even thing, right? Now let's go into 1975. The construction of S4 begins. Now we're gonna now moving from Nicholas, we're moving on to Bob Lazar, right? He's later described in S4 as a multi-level underground facility built into the mountainside containing biological labs containing gravitational research rooms. If you go on a safari and you look up the Montauk Lab, the second one, it's like it kind of describes of what we think of what every Area 51 looks like. Like it's in the middle of nowhere, it's on the side of a mountain or it's underground. But if you look up the picture, it's literally a mountain, like a huge mountain with metal doors that open, right? The layout mirrors basically Hawkins Labs underground wings, if you think about it. So if you go on Safari, look up Montauk, the Montauk underground facility, and then look up Hawkins Lab underground wings, it's the exact same thing. The exact same thing. Now, moving on to 1980 to 1989, the phase shift experiments. Multiple anonymous insiders describe this. So people that work there that just wanted to say anonymous basically describe this. Experiments with exotic materials, attempts to manipulate space times, containment units for non terrestrial biological entities, electromagnetic chambers. And these chambers reportedly had distorted sounds, slow decay, and altered perception of time. This is basically the upside down physics. Everything I just said is what Dustin described of what the upside down truly was when he figured it out, or what the upside down when we saw what it was from season 1 all the way to season 4. And these are the chambers. Remember in season 5 when the new lady scientist, I forgot her name, and in her lab she had these rooms full of all those pregnant women. Those are basically the chambers of like they were just talking about. Like that's basically how they just described it, right? Now let's move on to 1994, right? The neural resonance program, rumored to involve psychic children, like all the children that we saw. I want to say season 1. Yeah, season 1 when we met who Vecna truly is. Well, who Vecna not truly is, who he combined himself with. Um like all those children's from with numbers on their wrists and everything. Sensory deprivation, telepathic communication with non-human entities, and attempts to bridge dimensions. This is basically like 11's training almost scene for scene. So all those training that we saw in the lab, when Papa, whatever his real name, they call him Papa, his original lab, that's basically what it was. Those were those kids were basically in. It was almost like a foster care for supernatural children in retrospect, basically. Now from 1994, we're moving on to 1996. The S4 breach, right? A classified incident allegedly forced, right? Evacuation of one wing, destruction of biological samples, and sealing of several chambers, right? Witnesses have described that there were shadow-like organisms, hive mind behavior, and electromagnetic interference. This is basically explaining the OG, basically the mind flayer. You know, the big guy that bigger than Vecna. He's controlling everything. This is what people allegedly saw that they described when there was a breach in one of the chambers. All right. Now let's get into our first commercial. Part two coming with the Stranger Things timeline, right? When it talks about when the gate opens.
This is WIUR Radio.
Hi, this is Anthony Carlo, TV news reporter in New York City and proud alum. If you're looking for a career in media, Iona is the place to be. From internships to real-world experience, Iona's media program is unprecedented. Take it from an industry professional who made it in the biz.
Now back to WIUR, Iona University Radio.
Okay, now that we're back, let's go into part two. Now, with this one, we're gonna actually map out the show's events of real world like timeline, basically. So going into the show, moving away from the Montauk Project. So obviously, in 1983, the gate opens. Right, 11 makes contact with the Demigorgons. A tear opens, a creature crosses over. Right, in the real world, Montauk allegedly shuts down after a rift event. And when the gate opens, obviously we know they take Will Byers, the whole everything. He becomes like he gets this parasite stuck with him. Everything, right? 1984, containment efforts. Hawkins Labs tries to burn down out the upside down infection. The government covers up everything, basically. Real world, Area 51 expands biological containment. This is on 1984. 1985, with the show, the Mind Flayer emerges. A hive mind entity attempts to merge dimensions. It uses electromagnetic fields to control matter. In the real world, S4 reportedly tests phase shift organisms. The parallels are too precise, way too precise to ignore, right? Now, here's like a side-by-side master timeline. So the year 1952, MK Ultra begins. 1968, Montauk Cherry experiments. 1974, S4 construction. Now, 1979, Beast from the ID and Stranger Things Demigorgon prototype. 1983, Montauk Rift, 11 opens the gate. 1984, containment protocols, Hawkins Labs cover up. 1985, phase shifts organisms, Mind Flayer. 1996, S4 breach, right? This is not an inspiration. It's basically an adaptation, right? Let's go into the next part, right? The upside down electromagnetic rules, right? Area 51 insiders alleged because, you know, it's not all proven, so I can't really say it's 100% correct, but allegedly describe there's static in the air, slowed biological decay, distorted sounds, flickering lights, gravity anomalies, and the upside down has floating particles, slow decomposition, muffled audio, electromagnetic interference. So the same thing Area 51 insiders are explaining is the same thing that we see in the upside down, which is basically a replica. The upside down is basically obviously a replica of the real world. but everything is like dark, gloomy. As we know, there's like particles floating in the air. It's odd. It's very everything's like decompromise, like breaking up, but it's very slowed, and the audio and the sound of it is very muffled and eerie, and the lights are very flickery and off, and that's exactly what Area 51 insiders basically describe, right? Like this is not a random world building. Now, 11's powers are real world experiments, right? So the MK Ultra, sensory deprivation, psychic testing. Sorry, guys. And Montauk, psychic amplification, remote viewing, dimensional contact. Area 51 is for telepathic communication with non-human entities. 11 is a fictional version of a real-world classified program. Everything that 11 was going through when she was a child with her papa to now when she's in a real world basically explains what Area 51 insiders allegedly saying that is going on. 11 is a fictional person, but what her powers were and what she was doing allegedly were true back in 1980s. All right, the creatures match the classified biological descriptions, right? Demigorgons matches Montauk's Beast from the ID. The Mind Flayer matches S4 phase shift organisms. Hive mind, electromagnetic manipulation, and dimensional bridging behavior. Now, we remember the demo dogs. They kind of match their not kind of, but they do match the description of bioengineered containment organism used in S4, right? So back in S4, it's basically when they talk about the demi dogs. Let's go back. Give me a second. Sorry, guys. They're humanoid, obviously, faceless and aggressive. In S4, that also describes what the demigorgons are, and they match the description of what the alleged people from Area 51 were saying everything was. All right. Now, let's hear the full conspiracy theory. 1, Montauk was the prototype. Psychic experiments, dimensional contact, a rift event. 2, Area 51 was upgraded because of the rift opening and something coming out of the rift, aka known as Demigorgon. So Area 51 was upgraded to obviously expand their deep dive research on what these non-humanistic animals entities are, right? When Area 51 was upgraded, it was better containment, obviously better funding, and it recovered non-human technology. Obviously, all funded by the government. So the government does know about this, obviously. Stranger Things, number 3, Stranger Things is a controlled disclosure, a way to normalize the idea of dimensional breaches, fictionalize real experiments, and bury the truth under entertainment. If the public ever uncovers real evidence, officials can say you're confusing reality with a Netflix show. So now we come to our closing, right? So what do we do with all this? The timeline aligns, the experiments match, the creatures resemble classified descriptions. The physics of the upside down mirrors, S4 rumor chambers, and the show's original title, Montauk, is the biggest slip of all. Because remember when the Duffer Brothers, they said in an interview that they were going to name the show the Montauk Project, but it kind of didn't really rhyme. It kind of didn't really like ring the same way Stranger Things did. And that's the biggest slip of all time, because why would you take interest in all of this if there's not some type of level of truth to it, right? So maybe Stranger Things isn't a predicting anything. Maybe it's remembering. Maybe Area 51 isn't hiding aliens. Maybe it's hiding the upside down that Dustin was talking about when it comes to the whole loophole and everything about it. Thank you for listening to episode 3 of Theories with Nia. I hope to see you again next week. Bye.
The seeing the crack of the bat at City Park.
It's a line drive into left field, around third, and it kicks away. The Gales are going to win it in 10.
We make those moments happen on our brand new WIUR sports radio platform on